Hi, and welcome to Lesson 2 in my series on the playing of Wayne Bennett. And what I'm trying to do is show you some licks that I've pulled from the playing of Wayne Bennett, and along the way try to figure out some of his style and techniques and things that he did. Basically, his approach was very standard. It was similar to many other blues players, most notably B.B. King. But he played these positions that I'm going to show you in his own unique way, which was fantastic. A lot of his solos were based around the first position blues box. So in this lesson here, we're going to look at a lot of his licks in that first position. And I'm going to show you a whole series of licks. I'm looking at my list here. I've got 22 different Bobby Bland licks, or licks by Wayne Bennett on Bobby Bland recordings. As we go along, I'll tell you the key, I'll tell you the song, where I got these from, and anything else I can figure out. And if you listen to these recordings, I think I've got these pretty much note for note. If I make some mistakes, let me know. I'll post the tab in the information part of the lesson video page here. Let's start out in the key of F. And we're going to take a look at some licks from a song called I Woke Up Screaming, which is a typical cool Bobby Bland song. Lick number 1 is a fill lick, and I'm going to show you a combination of fill licks and what I call solo licks, but these are interchangeable. You can use these licks as fills in between vocal verses. You can also use them as part of solos. So let me show you this first one. This is in the key of F. Let me play it again. You hear Wayne Bennett do a lot of that using the bass strings. And so here in the first song, we're in the key of F, and we're starting out with a bend, kind of a hop, which I showed you in the first lesson. So that introduces the lick. So I'm bending up on the 2nd and 3rd frets of the 3rd string with my 2nd and 3rd fingers, and then I'm going to get the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and then from that point on, I'm just walking back and forth between the 1st and 3rd frets. So it's 3rd fret of the 3rd string, 1st fret of the 3rd string, 3rd fret of the 4th string, 3rd fret of the 5th string, and I climb the other way again. I'm going to go from the 1st fret of the 4th string to the 3rd fret, and then wind up the lick on the 1st fret of the 3rd string. So here's a nice easy starter lick from Wayne Bennett's playing. Lick number 2 is also in F, comes from the same tune, I Woke Up Screaming, and it's also in the first position blues box. Goes like this. Another typical Wayne Bennett lick where he starts out on the treble strings, winds up on the bass string. So here we go again. And I'm starting out with that same lick that I used to start out lick number 1, bending up on the 3rd string at the 3rd fret, but I'm using 2 fingers, 2nd and 3rd finger, each on a different fret, 2nd and 3rd frets. 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. And then, this is a common Wayne Bennett type thing, he's going to go from the 1st fret of the 2nd string to the 1st fret of the 1st string. 4th fret of the 2nd string, 1st fret of the 2nd string, then the 3rd fret to the 1st fret on the 1st string. Then I'm going to do this 4, 3, 1 walk on the 2nd string. And then a lick that's very similar to what we did in lick number 1. Back to that bend, and wind up on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. So the whole lick, slowly. And there's another example of a Wayne Bennett lick. There you saw me combine first couple licks actually together. Lick number 3 is another classic Wayne Bennett lick, also an F from the same song, I Woke Up Screaming. Here's an example of him climbing from the bass notes up to the treble notes. It goes like this. So one more time. So what he's doing this time is walking, starting on the 5th string, 3rd fret, and he's going to go first fret, third fret on the fourth string, to the first fret of the third string. And then that lick, so, just like we did on the last one, first fret of the first string, fourth fret of the second string, first fret of the second string. Then he's going to go to the fourth fret of the first string, hold it a little bit, slight bend, and then wrap it up with that little lick. First fret of the first string, 4, 1 on the second string. So the whole lick. There's another Wayne Bennett. Lick number 4 is unique, and it comes from the same tune, I Woke Up Screaming. This is a little fancier thing, kind of cool. And this is one that you can take and put into a solo and liven it up right away. He uses this as a fill. So this is also in the key of F. He goes like this. Really cool. What I'm doing is anchoring my first finger on the first fret, first and second strings. Then I'm going to take my pinky, my fourth finger, fourth fret of the first string. Then I'm going to get the first string, second string, fretted at the first fret. Then I'm going to do the same thing, but this time with the ring finger on the third fret of the first string. And you can wrap that up with another one of those licks. So that whole lick again. Pretty cool stuff. You can play that in any key. So if you're in G, throw in those other licks that we learned too. So that is lick number 5 is a short lick that you could even tag on to the end of lick number 4, but it's just another example of him using the same first blues box position on the first and second strings. He does something like this. And you could use that as a fill lick. Or you could use that same lick as part of a bigger solo or run. So, first part of it, just like the last lick. And this time, instead of doing this, we're just going third fret, first fret on the first string. And then the fourth fret, first fret on the second string. Sorry, let me do that again. Something like that. That's the idea. So there is lick number 5. Lick number 6. This one comes from a tune called Teach Me How to Love You. It's in the key of F sharp. It goes like this. One more time. This time we're using a little longer, what I call a long bend. And I'm going to use all 4 of my fingers, mainly my pinky, or my fourth finger, is going to be on the 5th fret of the second string. My ring finger is going to be on the 4th fret. And then I'm going to maybe use my second finger on the 3rd fret. But I'm mostly, actually take the second finger off and just push with the 2. The ring finger and the pinky. Then my first finger is going to be on the 1st fret and the 2nd fret of the 1st and 2nd strings. I'm sorry, the 2nd fret of the 1st and 2nd strings. So the first part of the lick, so I'm bending up to the 5th fret of the 1st string. And that's why I get both the 1st and 2nd strings at the 2nd fret, because I'm going to get the 2nd string at the 2nd fret. So that first lick. So the rest of it. So we're going to go back to the 4th fret, 5th fret of the 2nd string, 2nd fret of the 1st string. So let me do the whole thing. So we're going 5th fret of the 2nd string, 2nd fret of the 1st string, 5th fret of the 2nd string, and then 2nd fret of the 2nd string. Let's do that whole thing. Then the other part. So we're going to go 4, 2 on the 3rd string, 4th fret of the 4th string, and then twice on the 5th string, 4th fret. Whole thing. There we go. Sorry, I got a little lost there in the explanation. And that kind of lick, you'll see, is very common in Wayne Bennett's playing. He likes to use that long bend. And he uses it in a lot of different ways, as we'll see. So that is lick number 7. Lick number 7 comes from the same tune. It's in the key of F sharp. The name of that song, I think, is If I Was Wrong, not Teach Me How to Love You. That's just one of the lyrics. It goes like this. This is another kind of abbreviated lick you could use as a fill or as part of a solo, bigger solo. One more time. And what I'm doing is bending on the 3rd, 4th fret, using really my 2nd and 3rd fingers. 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. I'm bending them together to control the string better. Then I've got my 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. Then I'm going to bend again and release. I'm not sure how he does that in the song exactly, but that's the idea. Then I'm doing this lick, going from the 4th fret of the 4th string to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And I do it twice. And then I'm going to go to the 4th fret of the 5th string, and then climb back up from the 2nd to the 4th. So the whole lick. And there's another. Another little lick that you could work into your playing, and that's something that Wayne Bennett does quite a bit, using the bass strings, the lower end of these first position blues box chords. So that's lick number 8 from Wayne Bennett's playing comes from the same song, If I Was Wrong, in the key of F sharp. And this one is, again, all these licks are very similar, but you'll see the variation in that, and that will give you some ideas, hopefully, of what you can do to mix up things in your solos to make them not sound all the same. So we're going to use kind of the same lick we used a while ago. So one more time. So this time, I'm going to use that same basic idea, bend up on the 2nd string, 5th fret, then go to the 2nd fret of the 1st string, 5th fret of the 1st string, 2nd fret of the 1st string, and then the 2nd string, also fretted there. Then we're going to go back and forth between the 5th fret of the 2nd string and the 2nd fret of the 1st string. This time we're going to bend the 3rd string at the 4th fret. Then we're going to go hold it a little bit. And we're going to go 2nd fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret on the 2nd string. Wind up on the 4th fret of the 4th string. So the whole lick so far. Then we're going to wrap it up with this quick little. So what I'm doing is that bend that I did before on the 3rd string. Then I'm going to drag my pick and get the 2nd fret of the 2nd string and the 1st string. Something like that. Very choppy. So the whole thing. He just throws that in real quick. Again. As he moves into the next part of the verse. So he does that as a fill lick in that tune. So that is lick number 8. Alright, lick number 9 here. I'm just going to show you, this isn't anything exact, but this is an example of a kind of lick that you would hear Wayne Bennett play. Sometimes instead of playing in the 1st position blues box down here on the neck, he might move it all the way up here and play these high notes, which adds another dimension to his playing, his solos. So if we're playing in the key of F, let's take our F bar chord, F shape, slide it all the way up to the 13th through the 15th fret. So we can play in a first position blues box all the way up here between the 13th and 16th frets on the first and second strings, and then the 13th, 15th on the 3rd through the 5th strings. Here's an example of a lick that you might hear Wayne Bennett play, something like this. And what he's doing, I'm going to start out on the 13th fret of the second string with a slight bend. On the 16th fret, it's what I call a long bend. I'm using all 4 fingers. And then I'm going to drop it's on the 16th. The pinky will end up on the 16th fret of the second string. And then the first finger is going to continue to bar the first and second strings at the 13th fret. So I'm going to go 13th fret, 16th fret, 13th fret on the first string. And then I'm going to get the second fret, or the second string of the 13th fret. So like this. Something like that. And you can play that in a lot of different ways, but the idea is he's using that instead of this. The high sound just gives a different element. So that lick again. And that's just a typical Wayne Bennett-ish or Wayne Bennett-like lick that you would hear. So in the keys of F, F sharp, and G, you can play up here. Depends on your guitar. Playing in G with that would be very difficult for me with this guitar. F sharp I could handle, or F I could handle, maybe F sharp. But if you have a guitar that gives you more access to the higher part of the neck, then you'd be in business. But that's something that Wayne Bennett did. Lick number 10, I'm just going to show you another example of what you could do playing up on the neck in the key of F. So if we've got the 13th fret with my first finger and the 13th fret with my pinky, I can bend just like I can bend on the second string. And sometimes he do some licks where he uses that high bend. Something like that. So I'm bending, using all 4 fingers on the 13th through 16th frets. The main emphasis is on the 16th fret with the pinky. I can kind of let go of that, bring it back to the 16th fret. Bend, whoops. Something else that he would do sometimes is this hop. And that is just taking the first finger, putting it on the 13th fret. So this will be lick number 11 right here, which you can also do in this high position. So I've got my first finger on the 13th fret of the first string, and I'm using my second, third, and fourth fingers on the second string at the 14th, 15th, 16th frets. But I'm bending mostly with my last 2 fingers. But sometimes I'll throw that third finger in there, give myself a little more control. So I could do this. And I can combine those other things. All kinds of stuff, mayhem you can get going down here on the neck. So I'm bending up on the second string, first finger on the 13th fret of the first string. Combine all those other things. You can also throw in some G string bends. And you can play basically anything you could play up here on the neck or down here on the neck. You can play in those high, I call them high positions or high note runs. Lick 12 is another one you can use in a lot of different ways. This comes from a tune called Loan a Helping Hand in the key of C. So we're going to move up here. And this lick, you'll see some kind of a fancier picking thing that you can use. It goes like this. So what I'm doing something like that. I'm going to hammer on, pull off, with my first finger on the 8th fret of the 1st string and my pinky, 4th finger, going to the 11th fret. Pulling off. Not really hammering on, you're just pulling off. So I'm picking and then pulling my finger off. So I'm picking the 13th or 11th fret of the 1st string and pulling off to the 8th. So he does something like that. Then he wraps it up with just a lot of different licks you could use there, but the main lick is this part, and that's something you could use on the 2nd string, and that's something you hear in Wayne Bennett's playing, those little pull-offs, hammer-on, pull-offs, tricks or licks, you might call them, whatever, little lick tricks that you can use to, instead of just playing, you can play. It sounds more interesting. So that is in the key of C. That's from a tune called Lonely Cool. First time I heard this lick was in an instrumental tune called Okie Dokie Stomp by Gatemouth Brown. I've copied this lick and used it in a lot of my solos when I'm playing live. It's real easy to play and it sounds great. So we're starting here in C, and it goes like this. And that is neat. So we're starting on the 10th fret of the 4th string, going to the 8th fret, and then the 10th fret on the 3rd string. And then we're going to do the hammer-on pull-off thing. Going to pull off, hammer on. So the hammer-on pull-off, you're hammering on to the 10th fret of the 3rd string, coming off to the 8th fret, so like that. Just play it faster. So there's a cool lick. And you wind up always on the 10th fret of the 4th string. So that is lick number 14. Also comes from Loan a Helping Hand. And this time we're going to do a bend with a single string run attached to it. It goes like this. So we're going to bend and just walk up the blues box. So we're bending on the 1st string, 1st finger on the 8th fret, pinky on the 11th, and I'm bending really with my 2nd or 3rd and 4th fingers. My ring fingers on the 10th fret, pinky on the 11th. I can throw that 2nd finger in there too on the 9th fret to control it more. So I bend and hold it, and then I'm just going to go going from the 8th fret of the 1st string, 11-8 on the 2nd string, 10-8 on the 3rd string, and winding up on the C note, which is the 10th fret of the 4th string. So the whole lick. There's another one you can use as part of a solo. Number 15 also comes from the tune Loan a Helping Hand. It goes like this. And here we're going to combine some different things. We're going to combine a bend, which we're going to hold. Single string run. We're going to use that hammer-on pull-off that we used a couple licks ago. And another typical lick that you hear a lot in Wayne Bennett's playing. So let's break it down. Start out bending the 2nd string. I'm using all 4 fingers to control that bend. So I'm bending the 2nd string from the 8th to the 11th fret. 8th fret of the 1st string. 11-8 on the 2nd string. 10th fret of the 3rd string. And then we're going to do the hammer-on pull-off from the 10th to the 8th on the 3rd string, and wind up on the 10th fret of the 4th string. So like this. And then he throws in sort of a finishing lick. And we're going from the 8th fret to the 9th fret on the 3rd fret and winding up on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Whoops, one more time. Something like that. I don't know if I played that right when I showed it to you the first time, but that's the whole thing. And that is lick number 16. Also comes from Loan a Helping Hand, and it goes like this. So what we're going to do is move the fingers over and do that same long bend on the 1st string from the 8th to the 11th. And then we're going to go back, hold it, and then come back to the 11th. It's like this. So we're going to bend, 11th. We're going to get the 1st string of the 8th fret and the 2nd string. So, like that. To the 10th fret of the 3rd string. Then we're going to hammer on, pull off, and wind up again on the 10th fret of the 4th string. Here's the whole lick. So there is lick number 17. Comes from a slow tune called I Smell Trouble, which is one of Bobby Bland's greatest. Going to play in the key of C again, and this time we're going to do something like this. So we're going to use that same long bend that we used way up here before in F, and I'm bending really the 2nd string at the 10th and 11th fret, and I've got my 1st finger on the 8th fret of the 1st string. So we're bending twice, then we're going 11, 8, and that same walk. So there's another cool lick. So we're bending 11, 8, 10, 8 on the 3rd string, 10th fret on the 4th string. And there's lick number 16. So lick number 18 also comes from I Smell Trouble. And now this is a lick that you hear Wayne Bennett use in a couple different songs as a stop time fill. The tune will stop, Bobby Bland will sing, and he'll throw this lick in. Freddie King used the exact same lick, and so have other bluesmen. The key of C goes like this. So what I'm doing is starting from the 10th fret of the 4th string. Then I'm going to hammer on the 8th to the 9th fret of the 3rd string. Then I'm going to walk from the 8th to the 10th on the 2nd string. And wind up on the 8th fret, C note of the 1st string. Like that. And that's a standard electric blues licks. If you didn't pick that up from my Freddie King lesson, there you go. And that is lick 19 comes from a tune called It's My Life Baby, and it's in the key of G. So we're going to move back up here on the neck or down here on the neck, and it goes like this. One more time. And this is again a lick you could use as a fill or as part of a solo. It's going to start on the 5th fret of the 5th 4th string. It's going to hammer on or go from the 3rd to the 4th fret on the 3rd string. And then we're going to get the 3rd fret of the 2nd and the 1st strings. Then we're going to do this lick from the 6th fret of the 1st string, 3rd fret of the 1st string, and then 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So the whole thing. Whoops. Then he's going to use the bend. He's going to do it like this. Hesitate there. So the whole lick. Whoop. So from here we're going to bend up on the 3rd string at the 5th fret. I'm using my 2nd and my 3rd finger on the 4th and 5th frets. 1st finger is on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Then we're going the 5th fret, 3rd fret, holding that, and then winding up on the 5th fret of the 4th string. So the whole thing, we come back to where we started from. Now another way you can play that lick, I'm going to stay with this, is just start it from this lick. And you can do all kinds of variations. So instead of that I could do, we can use some of those other ideas that we've learned in other licks and put them all together. But the basic lick is, whoops, one more time. And that is lick number 19. Lick 20 is another cool variation in that first blues box position. This is also in G from the tune It's My Life Baby. It does something like this. Let me do that again. So he's going to slide. So we're starting out that same lick we did last time from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret of the 3rd string, 3rd and 5 on the 2nd string, 1st fret of the 3rd string, and then we're going to slide really from the 6th to the 8th frets on the 1st string, then back to the 6th to the 3rd fret of the 1st string. We're going to get the 2nd, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, 6-3 on the 2nd string, and then that walk from the 5 to the 3 to the 5 on the 3rd and the 4th strings. So the whole thing. Let me try it again. One more time. There we go. That's what I have tabbed out for you. Slowly. Got it that time. It's hard to memorize these things and play them, but that's the idea, and I have the tab for you. You can go along with that. So that is lick number 20. A couple more to go. Lick number 21. There's so many great Wayne Bennett licks. And I'm just trying to show you a nice variety that you can look at and start get some ideas of how he played and what you want to pick and choose to use in your own playing. One of his most famous songs, Bobby Bland's most famous songs, was a tune called Stormy Monday, T-Bone Walker tune. His version of it was really good. Listening to the recording, I have it in the key of A flat. So I'm going to play this lick in the key of A flat. And a little bit later I'll show you some of the chords and things that he did in that song. But right now let's just focus on a couple of the fill licks. This is one, very standard electric blues type lick. So here we go. That only does it 3 times. What I'm doing is starting with this bend on the 5th fret, 6th fret of the 3rd string, using my 2nd finger on the 5th fret. And then I'm going to get the 3rd, 4th fret of the 2nd string, 1st fret, 1st string of the 4th fret. So 2nd and 1st strings at the 4th fret. So 7, 4 on the 2nd string, and then 3 bends. I think it's 3. Fades a little bit. He may throw another one in there. First time around, I did it too many times. So there's another Wayne Bennett type lick. And that's, you know, very similar to what T-Bone Walker did. Early B.B. King stuff. Lots of other people use that same basic lick, but Wayne Bennett used it as well. Lick number 22. This is one that I probably should have showed you earlier, and I just can't leave out of this video. It's one of my favorites. And we're going to go back to the key of F, and we're going to slide back up here to the high notes. And he does this thing on these bends, where he uses these bends. And he starts out, or this is a bend he's going to do just on the 2nd string, with his 1st finger on the 13th fret, and his pinky on the 16th frets. And he does something like this. And And that is a cool little lick you can use as a solo or as a fill. Playing in that high position. So all I'm doing is bending it, then bringing it back down to the original position, and then going to the 13th fret of the 2nd string. Try to keep it smooth. You can do that on the 1st string. Something like that. So there's another lick you can play in the high scale. In F, you can play it in C. Use it all over the neck. It's kind of hard to play up here if you get too far up the neck, but in F, again, on this guitar, I can just about make it as far as F and not much further. One more lick. 23 is also from Stormy Monday Blues, and I interrupted the flow here by going back to one. I just didn't want to forget it. So 23, let's go back to A flat, and he does something like this as a fill in the playing, or in the singing, as Bobby Bland is singing this great song. And what he's doing, he's just doing this little repetitive lick, going from the 6th fret of the 4th string, 4th fret, 6th fret on the 2nd string. And he does the same thing starting on the 6th fret of the 4th, 5th string, and then going from the 4th to the 6th on the 4th string. Something like that. That's another cool Wayne Bennett idea, coming up with these licks, not just on the treble string, but also on the bass line. Something like that. You can use that in a lot of different ways. Now, all these single string runs, the idea is not to learn them note for note, and you can, but the main hope I have is that you'll take these and work these into your own playing, or come up with your own variations of them. But learning these licks will help you understand where you can play on the guitar, what you can play, some different ways to vary your playing. You know, instead of just playing, you know, mixing in some, mixing in some different sounds and ideas and licks and things to make your playing more interesting. Now, the next lesson, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you licks, this time in the 2nd position blues box, which was also used extensively by Wayne Bennett on the Bobby Bland recordings. If you have any comments, questions, let me know. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. I'll be back with part 3 shortly.